everybody. I'm Tasharia.
And I'm Tasha.
And we're the Turners. Welcome to Turner Talk Podcast. And we have a special guest today. And this is someone that I know very, very well because we've been friends for like 20 some years. But
Yes.
she ain't on here to talk about that. She come over here to talk about all her endeavors. When I got ready to do the thumbnail, I just started to put mogul because you do so much. And I was like, I didn't know what to put. I asked Tasha, I said, what should I put on here? We ain't got no space for all that. Oh goodness, we lost her. But we don't have enough space for all that she does. And it's the difference between doing a lot and actually getting a lot done and being productive. So with that being said, we have Jeanette Irvin in the building. Oh, we got a little background.
AKA Maggie.
Oh, Lord.
Hey everybody. Hey y'all.
Hey. Okay.
Thank you for having me tonight.
You're very
I'm
welcome.
trying to get this
Hey, baby.
audio together so I can hear y'all better.
Okay, good. Because I was gonna say we had a little what is it? Interference. You have another screen over with the live stream or something?
This is the only app that I have up. Let me make sure.
Oh, maybe it's outside because we did have problems with but no, I just hear us. Okay. Well, we're gonna make it work. Thank you for the donation, Bobby Jean. Since let me look. Since we waiting on her to come back in, let me give my super chat sound. Thank y'all for joining us on this Sunday evening. We appreciate it. We usually have on here on.
Thank you for the super donation. Duckets, 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 duckets. Thank you for the super.
Hey. I just thought I entertain the crowd while you come on back.
I appreciate it.
Okay.
How y'all doing this evening?
Oh, blessed and highly favored. We went to church today.
Oh Lord. I'm gonna have to hear about this for a long while. Now we're doing. But how are you?
Going to church?
Yeah, we went to church.
We went to church.
Okay.
We had guest Minister Jean Burton on here like a month ago, and she invited us to church. So we went to church. Now it's in her hometown. It's like 2.5, basically on 3 hours away. So we went to church this morning. It was good though. I like
y'all drove.
Ring clapping, boom, boom, boom. I was like, oh yeah.
So y'all drove to church.
I'm like, he was waving his hand in the air like he just don't care. We need to do a little bit better about in the church, okay? But it was a lot of fun.
Nice. Now, y'all drove?
Yeah.
Huh?
Oh,
3
wow.
hours
Okay.
3 hours back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, okay, so tell us about Margaret. So if you was like I know you gave us a brief bio, but if you like, okay, this is me, and then like I want you to strongly consider doing that poem at the end. My favorite one where you start using the education, you start using the parts of speech. Oh, if you put that
the
down,
erotic one?
huh?
The erotic one?
Oh, I don't know if it's
Is it made for TV?
I don't know.
I don't think it's made for TV.
Education, and they ain't made for TV. Oh man, okay.
It's not made for TV.
I'm about to say it's made for
I just been hanging on every word, and I look, but it's been a while, so it might not be. But anyway, so tell everybody about who you are and all things.
Okay, all right. So I did a feature performance the other night. And I have a tendency to theme my shows, and so that particular show was themed towards MsNightLyfe, which is my writer's name. But the gist of it is my name, my good government name that lands me that good government job is Margaret Jeanette Irvin.
All right.
I am an educator, a mom, a grandma, a realtor, an investor, a writer, a poet, you name it. I've probably done it or attempted to do it. But I am a Jane of all trades and master of a few.
All right. And you forgot the part where you can marry people.
Okay.
You married us twice.
I did.
Straight. Yeah.
So that was something that that part of me is reserved for my loved ones. You know, I don't do that publicly unless the price is right, you know,
Okay.
but I haven't been propositioned in that manner yet. So that right now, that's for my friends and family.
And I tell you, she's a woman of her word. We called her the day before. She was right there. I say, hey, we want to get married tomorrow. Can you? She's like, yeah, as long as you get on there before 3:00. Because my flight leaves. I was like, okay, we can make it happen. Then she flew all the way to Puerto Rico and married us in our ceremony. She married us in Fort Worth in our actual wedding. And then we had a ceremony in Puerto Rico, and she was right there. So
indeed.
She's a woman of her word. I have to say that.
Go flat tires, baby. Okay, so first of all, okay, because I know that your undergraduate, was it in education? Because then you got your master's in what?
My undergrad is in psychology.
Psychology.
My master is in educational leadership. Because back then I wanted to be a principal. But you know, life has occurred, and the education system and I no longer align. So I did not want to be a principal. I've actually been trying to break up with teaching for the last year. And so hopefully by the end of 2023, I will be able to fully walk away.
I feel you. Because when I went to school, I got my undergraduate in psychology. I was going to go back and get my master's in something so I could be a school counselor. And then I went to substitute teach. What I do that for? I was like, oh no, these children are disrespectful. I can't go up here in underwear and little kids cussing each other out. Oh no, I can't do this.
Yeah, and it's a lot worse now because the parents are younger. And so it's kind of like you got two students when you have to interact with the parents. And then, you know, these new age children, parents included, are not respectful to people, and definitely not respectful to the profession. And you know, I could go on and I'll get on my soapbox and go on and on about that for hours because you know I have my own thoughts about it, you know.
But see, this is the thing though, but you like got teacher of the year, decade, century, or something like that, like multiple accolades, and you've been impacting children's lives so much over the last how long has it
20 years.
Okay, yeah, 20 years. And so that's a big step to have, you know, to part with that.
It's like a very bad breakup because this is maybe the second or third time that I've actually taken measures to separate myself from the profession. And I, you know, what brings me back each and every time is the reason that I started in the first place. I became an educator because my son needed an educator that looked like him and could deal with our children in a manner that they need. And so every time I try to quit, I end up being pulled back or called back or saying because I meet another one of my sons. You know? And so that's been the hardest part, I think, for me. But, you know, I mean, at this point, it's just like, hey, this is just simply not working. And I'm okay with the exodus.
But a lot of people in education are actually saying that it's mostly the parents that if you don't have the
If you don't have the what?
If you don't have the support of the parents, like you say, you got pretty much kids raising kids. I
Yes.
mean, your parents aren't that much older than the kids.
That's a huge piece of it, because the children aren't being taught at home. And if they are being taught at home, it's conflicting with what we're told to teach them while they're at school. You know what I mean? And so, but that's not the biggest issue. The biggest issue is the administration and the policies that govern what occurs in the classroom. You know, I don't know if y'all heard about it. And I can't remember exactly where. I want to say it's up this way, but it could be down your way. But a teacher was shot.
I think it was in Virginia. If I'm not, yeah, I think Virginia.
A 6-year-old, and the teacher is now deciding she's lawyered up, and like the community, the people, society is admonishing her for lawyering up.
Yeah,
I don't understand that, and I think she absolutely should, because if nothing else, it could be the accelerant and the fire that needs to be set under the feet and bottoms of the decision makers who have been in the classroom, if at all. Because in DC, you don't even have to be in the classroom to be an administrator. In Texas, you have to be an administrator. You have to be in the classroom for at least 3 years. Here, they don't necessarily require that. It's who you know, what program you went to. So I think that she absolutely should, because there needs to be change. There needs to be accountability on the part of the students. There needs to be accountability on the part of the parents. And there isn't. The only time you ever see or hear about accountability on the part of the parent when it's a student of color.
Because they arrested that mom. They arrested that mom and said that the gun was purchased legally, but not for her, by her. And so they've arrested her. So she'll probably, I don't know, probably do some time to make an example out of her.
Well, but here's the thing. Nobody's really talking about, I've seen it, but nobody's really talking about the fact that before this child shot the teacher, students went home complaining to their parents that the child was bringing in shiny things.
Oh, Lord.
And that day of, they reported it 3 times that he had a gun, but they couldn't search him or didn't search him.
They could have searched him. Anytime you come to that school, anybody that comes on the property of the school is subject to search.
They reported 3 times that he had a gun.
Because of whatever reason, they probably didn't want to deal with the parent. You know, and like, I don't understand. I've not been in all my years of education, I've not seen so many afraid administrators. These administrators and policymakers are afraid because they don't want the bad press. Who cares about the press being bad? The press is going to be bad whether you.
But I'm saying is that it's bad now. They didn't want bad press, but it's bad now. You know.
But and that's the thing. Our whole society has become so litigious that people are afraid to breathe. I breathe up in a whatever. But some things are warranted and some things are just we make an example. This, that, and the third. Or this. It's just we so.
Those types
you can't find an up from about.
Are performative and knee jerk, and it's because let me do something because I've done nothing for so long. And I do what I'm supposed to do and try to keep my nose clean and myself out of. I had a principal that used to tell me, "Don't do anything that you wouldn't be okay doing if CNN had the cameras in here rolling." And I don't care. I'm not things, I'm not going to give a horse and pony show because I show up every day as my authentic self, and I encourage my students to do the same, and I teach my butt off. And so it's kind of like slam poetry. I've had several people ask me, do you perform slam poetry? No, I do not, because I'm not going to voluntarily put my artwork on Front Street for somebody to judge that doesn't understand the place that I was in when I wrote it. They don't understand the message that I'm trying to deliver. So I don't care about performing for anybody. Either you like me or you not. And if you don't like me, then certainly you can communicate to me in a way that helps me improve.
Yeah.
If you cannot help me improve, then you hate it. And well, I don't know.
When you talking to me,
show, you can imagine the curse words that are swirling around.
Trying to keep it clean.
That's right. That's right.
So, and I think that if people had more of these conversations, I really think the world would be a better place, or people would be less angry.
But a lot of times, like, she'll tell me sometimes my mouth, I need to tone down what I say sometimes. But sometimes that's the only way people, I think, receive it, is if I'm just blunt. Why sugarcoat it? When you're doing it, it ain't sugarcoated. So
That's
I'm
right.
not gonna sugarcoat
That's
it.
right.
You doing it blatant, so I'm gonna say it.
But you got to have more than one level of communication. It can't just go raw, just.
I get straight to the point. Tomorrow ain't promised. I got to get straight to the point.
I appreciate that sort of an element. You know what I mean? Because so many times I have to sit on my hands. When I'm passionate about a thing, and when I'm expressing and I'm honestly expressing, my hands are moving as well. So when I'm sitting on my hands, that means that I am now limiting what I would normally say in a situation. What I would try to do, what I'm working on for myself at this point, is saying whatever bluntly, but with a cool hand and a smile on my face.
See, that's probably what
you got that. You've been having that. You be like, you idiot. I mean, that's not what's coming out of your mouth, but that's what the word.
You had wrote written a same thing.
No, sorry.
You had wrote a test or something, a text or something. And you were explaining to this person that you wasn't what was it? You wasn't ghosting them, but you put it real elegantly, like, should I be offended or say, wow, that was neat?
That's why I say she is like a master of the English language, because she will put it.
Like, I'd be trying to sit up there and say, well, do she still like me? I mean, so are we going out? I was like, whoa, that was deep right there. That was deep. That was deep.
Sometimes you gotta break these down.
Some people say it was nice, nasty.
Yes.
It was nice. I was like, wow, I hate to be that person. I mean, do you just come up with it? I mean,
sometimes I've had to learn to sit with the thing and truly process what I'm feeling, because then and only then can I communicate what I'm feeling after, you know what I mean? Like, I have to sit with it, and then I go back to that CNN thing. If CNN was here, how would you say this? Now, and I do agree with you that some things just have to be said as is. There is no time to think and sugarcoat and be sweet and politically correct, because your disrespect or your offense was not politically correct.
That part right there.
So
that's what's wrong with society now, is that everybody gets so offended by everything. We were talking to my grandmother today, and I was, it was a teacher in Dallas who she told the little girl to sit her little fast self down, and the mom came up there and beat the teacher up, gave her whiplash, a concussion. And I was laughing with my grandmother and my wife, and I was like, when I was in school, me and my friends used to stand by the locker. It wasn't no boys there. We just, talking. And the teacher said, take y'all little hot tails to class. We went on to class. We didn't go home and tell our mamas, oh, she called us fast. She called us, because she probably would say that's what y'all was probably doing out there, being fast. But nowadays you can't even say anything to people's kids. So I mean, it's just we was talking. Another lady was talking to us. You got 5 and 6 year olds cussing the teachers out at school. You know,
And they do that. But here's the thing.
wow.
I cuss back. Send me home. Send me home. Now you're ready to have a conversation, but you weren't having a conversation the first 5 or 6 times that I told you that little Johnny is cussing me out.
Exactly. So now I done cussed little Johnny back. Now you offended.
On leave in stress because now I'm in an abusive situation and I don't feel safe.
Well, it was a 5-year-old that beat the teacher up. I don't know what kind of 5-year-old this was, but
one that didn't get smacked down in her seat or his seat.
Yeah.
Then I guarantee the teacher probably didn't look like me.
It didn't.
Mm.
But,
podium.
It's sad though, but we need more educators like you, and it's hard to find because now most of the educators aren't that much older than the students that they're teaching.
And
if they're not educating, they sitting up there trying to sleep with the students, and that's not a problem.
Teachers are leaving. It's not. You know, and I will say DC. I don't know about anywhere else in the United States, but DC is one of the, if not the top paying school system. It is one of the top paid school systems. So any teacher that's employed within DCPS will definitely think twice before leaving.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to consider that. You know what I mean? Like, we're leaving. I'm ready to go.
Mm-hmm. And I think teachers are so underpaid. Like you say, everywhere else, they're so underpaid. And they deal with a lot. Not only are they dealing with the students, but they're also dealing with the students' parents.
And the administration, which is, there are no allies for teachers.
Yeah.
There are no allies. The union, maybe, if you have a good union leader.
Yeah.
But there are no, which is why I'm ready to leave and live life on my terms.
Mm-hmm. So what? So I'm just gonna bring this up. This was your first book, Reclaiming My Time, and it's a practical guide to self-care. And I love the book. I still got it. This one, I don't know when was this one published?
2016 and 17.
I'm talking about this book right here is really good because it reminds us, because like right now, self-care, everybody, it's like a buzzword, self-care. But really and truly, self-care is important. So tell us about the book, why you wrote the book, and all that.
Okay. So I wrote the book because I was at the time that I wrote it, I was in my first year of marriage, and learning some things and trying to adjust being a wife and a mom at that point a grandmother, and just as a Black woman. And so because of that, I elevated, and I was more aware of myself. And because I was more aware of myself, I was like, hey, well, I know what I did and what things were necessary for me to fully and truly care for myself. And people think self-care is limited to spending some money. It's limited to getting a massage, or getting your nails done, or things like that. But no, self-care is opting for peace when you know that the outcome to any other response or any other situation is going to be chaos. Self-care is choosing you first every single time, with or without consideration for somebody else. And Black women aren't taught how to do that.
That's fact.
And so I wrote that book because it's very uncomfortable to unlearn things that has been indoctrinated in us since the beginning of time. Since the beginning of the line of Black women that I know and am familiar with. Right? So I wrote that book as a guide for people who were truly interested in taking care of themselves and I always think back to, I mentioned it in that book too. I think back to when you're on an airplane. The flight attendant tells us immediately should there be a change in cabin pressure, the oxygen mask will drop down. Secure the mask on yourself first before assisting other people. We don't do that, especially Black women don't do that. We put everything and everyone else before us. And then we walk around angry. I was an angry Black woman. And for good reason. I still have reason to be angry. It's just my choice not to be, because of the way that I care for myself. When I began to fully and truly care for myself, it changed the amount of people that I allowed around me that weren't caring for me or not caring for me in the way that I require. You know what I mean? And it's like, oh, well, you're selfish, or you're this and you're that. So, judge your mama. You know what I mean? Like, and so
I like what you say, like, no is a complete sentence. It don't require no explanation, period.
No.
Because a lot of people will walk around and be like, man, it hurt me to tell them no. It
And it wouldn't be.
But that's the hardest word to say, though. That is one of the hardest words to say, is no.
For some people.
No, I mean, it is. You can say no, but it's like, it just, I don't know. I guess whoever you're telling no to, it's a hard word. No,
especially if you're telling it to someone, a loved one.
Yeah.
It's uncomfortable because you know that they may truly need something, but you may not be in the capacity. And just like they were trusting and loving enough to you to come and ask you, they should have that same trust and love to understand your no without an explanation. It doesn't require a lot. Like, I don't owe you anything, and that's something Black women should know very well. The world teaches us that nobody owes us nothing. So then why can't we adopt that principle to the benefit of ourselves, not to hurt anybody, but for ourselves? Hey, no, I can't go because I don't feel like it. I don't have the energy. I don't have the wherewithal. I don't have nothing. No.
Period. Yeah.
Period. That's right. Period. End of sentence.
Yeah. I mean, you know what? Like you said, that is a hard thing, but it's becoming easier. It has become easier for me because everybody like, can I borrow da? And then I would give my last, and then turn around a week later, they out here flousing,
shucking and
jiving me some money. I'm like, nope, I don't loan no money. I don't loan no money. And if I do, I'll be like, here, this $50 for a lifetime. Don't give it back. Don't do nothing. I don't want it back. Just don't ask no money.
She even told me no. I said, let me hold $20 this morning to go to church. She said, you need to start planning about it.
You got to plan about it. Your lack of planning does not constitute an emergency for me.
I said, well, I didn't get a chance to go to the ATM. Let me hold 20.
And I want my $20 back too.
Listen, I get that. I mean, it is what it is. And I think as the older I get, the easier it gets for me. But, you have these, I think the no's are most offensive to our parents and people in our parents' age groups. The kids will get an attitude or whatever, but I don't care. I ain't finna lose no sleep, little Johnny, because you mad.
So you've always been confident and very self-aware. Tell us about, like, I love your grandma. I love your grandma. I love your mama, dear. But tell the audience about, like, your upbringing, because, like I told, we had somebody else from, small town America. A lot of times we don't even see outside of our neighborhoods. More or less, you've gone to other countries, this, that, and other. But let's tell the audience, like, your, as much as you want to talk about your childhood and going up to, how do you get, like, you when you're in China someday, I'm like, like, you're just out there, like, and then you investing not just in the United States, but investing in looking out in other countries as well.
Okay. So
I
my
know that was a big,
upbringing,
long request, but go ahead. Take your
no
time.
worries. My upbringing was I was brought up by my grandmother. I was raised by my name is Jeanette Irvin. My grandmother was Margaret Jean Irvin. And she was, now she's been deceased now for 5 years.
Mhm.
And I realize now that, that was my best friend. Like,
Mhm.
that's who I called. It doesn't matter how ugly or bad, whatever it was I was needing to talk about was she called. I called her and she just listened. And when we were so in tuned and connected that when she felt something was off with me, she called me.
Mhm.
And it never failed. I was, ears full of tears, snotting, and as soon as I answered the phone, and she immediately knew, I knew something was going on. I'm just calling to check on you. My grandmother she was the matriarch of the family. My family wasn't a patriarchal family on my mother's side at all. And she was a very sweet and gentle woman, but she did not mind bringing you the heat,
Okay.
literally, and I didn't realize what she was doing at that time, but she raised me to love myself.
Mhm.
I didn't realize or know that my skin color was a problem until I was 17 years old when someone told me I was cute to be dark skinned. You
That
know
you were
what I
what?
mean? My grandmother raised me in that manner. And so I never seen her shake or shy away from confrontation or a
Mhm.
confrontational thing or an uncomfortable thing. It was with her that I would have my first uncomfortable conversations. Regardless of how I felt or what I wanted to discuss or say, she was like, "Hey, we gonna have to get this out."
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so those are premises that I use in my day to day. My mother is very active, still alive. My mother and my father are both very active participants in my life. I love them dearly. My mother, I think my fire comes from her and my grandmother, though my grandmother was older and refined, and her lady phase was later in her life. Um, that part of me comes from him, the analytical, the 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 learner comes from my father.
Mhm.
The business person comes from my father. He's 70, 70, he'll be 71, I think, this year, 71, 72 this year. And he's running for his final term as, state senator of Louisiana.
Mhm.
And so that get up and go, that drive comes from everybody that had a hand in raising me.
That
Um,
village. That village.
Definitely the village. We work through some, our things. I'm
Mhm.
very vocal. I
Mhm.
don't care if you're uncomfortable, mom. I don't care if you're uncomfortable, dad. I've been uncomfortable for a very long time dealing with things that I don't even understand and can't explain because y'all weren't explaining them to me or having a conversation with me. So now we're going to have it. And I can
Mm.
cuss now. Y'all can't hit me.
Okay. Yeah,
So
I
I
love
think
it.
that is important for families, for people,
Mhm. Mhm.
especially people of color. We
Yeah.
don't talk about things. I don't know about this younger generation. They're a little bit way more vocal than we are, and I absolutely love that part of
Mhm.
them. That can say no and tell you why, communicate to you why their no is their no, and if you don't get it or you don't like it, it's kind of like, well,
Mhm.
okay, no worries. You
Mhm.
know, I wish I had gotten that earlier in my life. If
Mhm.
I had, I probably would be a little further,
Mhm.
I think. Um, and this is coming from somebody that feels like they are very successful.
Mhm.
I feel like I'm a very successful person. I'm a successful educator. I'm a successful entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
I'm successful, period.
Mm-hmm.
And so all of that comes from my upbringing. It was important for me to graduate high school because my grandmother didn't. It was important for me to graduate college because my father did, and I wanted to increase the chances of my child graduating from college. You know, like, so everything, I believe that everything is naturally connected, regardless of whether we know it at the time or not. I think it is. So.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So how did you get into the investing aspects? And well, because I think though the investing came before you actually started your real estate career.
And they happened simultaneously.
Mm-hmm.
The investing, I became an investor by becoming a homeowner.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody told me that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that, hey, these are all the reasons why you should buy a house. You know, I stayed in my house. I was at my first home I bought. I was 26, and I stayed in it for 10 years. I went through. I bought right at the beginning of the first or the last recession and housing bubble burst that we had. So I had to learn some things through that, and I kept my home for 10 years. And when I sold it, I walked away with maybe about $30,000 that I'm still using to this day. And that's been almost 7 years ago now. So I didn't know that I was an investor then. You know, I wasn't moving in the world that way. And so once I realized, hey, okay, this could work, this is good. And then I became intentional about the things that I was doing and paying attention to. And then I bought my second house after I got married and divorced, you know, and then that house, it was in that house 2 years and I walked away with $100,000. You know, so now I'm learning as an investor when to walk away and how long should I stay and what each of those actions mean. And so that's what made me an investor before I got into actual real estate. You know, I just was, hey, I was listening. I said, I'm listening to spirit. You know, I follow directions. When I'm given the word, I use it. And so that's what happened there. Now, as far as me being a real estate agent, I've been doing real estate wholeheartedly for this summer will be 3 years. But I'm still learning as a real estate agent. I'm still, you know, I have to learn so that I can stay true to the reason I entered into this area in the first place, which was to eliminate the gap. There's gaps between African Americans and the rest of the world in education and economics. And so I'm in both of those fields to eliminate the gap. Not close it, I want to eliminate it. We need to close it. We need to eliminate it, get rid of it.
Tear them down.
Closing it means that it's still there. Eliminating means that it's gone. And so if there is no gap, then, you know, I hope that our world and our children have different conversations from the ones we're having.
So what sets you apart as a real estate versus anybody else? You know, like what do you bring to the real estate industry that, you know, like, cause there's billions and, you know, it's however many real estate agents and realtors out there. What makes you different? I feel, you know.
Well, it's a couple of things that makes me different. I think one of them, or the main thing, is when I talk to you about your real estate needs and goals, I'm talking to my younger self. And because I'm talking to my younger self, I'm going to have to be totally honest with you about what is and what isn't. I'm going to have to check you about your expectations, because people want 6 bedrooms, 3-car garages, and only want to spend $200,000. That's not realistic. Who you do what? Where you finna go live at? You can't even go live in Louisiana on the outskirts country, on the outskirts city. For that kind of money. What you can do, however, for that price, if that's the true point that you want, is buy you some land for about $10,000 and then put you $180,000-$90,000 house on that land. You know what I mean? So those types of things is what set me apart. It's just how true to how committed are you? You know, and in one of my, I've done several literary events, and in one of my events, this gentleman asked me, how does it feel to be, how do you feel being a mirror? And I had to sit with it like a mirror. I don't feel no kind of way because I'm only reflecting back what you giving. Yeah. And that has nothing to do with me. How do you feel that I'm showing you yourself?
Ooh.
You know what I mean? Like, that's the conversation. That's what you really want to know, because I don't feel no way. It pains me that I have to do this or do that. So, when I'm having these conversations in real estate, then we have to have them because that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And especially to somebody that is used to or has lived a majority of their life in lack. And in working with people of color, people who have always been behind the 8 ball, the underdog in any of the games that the world plays, you got to have those kind of conversations, and they get mad at me, and that's okay. When you're unmad, let's talk about it. We're gonna move forward, because being mad means you're staying in the problem, and that's not what I do.
Okay.
This is the problem. Now, what are we going to do to move forward and get through it and fix it, solve it?
Solve it, yeah.
How committed are you? It might take us a couple years sometimes. And so people they don't always have those conversations.
Again,
and they don't want to hear the answers.
Scared. Yep.
So, I think one of the major things, my concern, because when I retire, I really, when these little ones get up out of it, I'm like, okay, I want to retire somewhere else. So what do you think one of the biggest barriers or one of the biggest things to consider when you're like investing outside of the United States?
The barrier is a team. You got to have a team no matter where you're investing. You got to have somebody that can go and check on those properties. You have to have somebody that you can trust to maintain or renovate or do any of the things that need to be done for your property. You know what I mean? So I think that would be one of the biggest barriers. And then you have to knowledge. You got to have a knowledge base. I'm not going to go and purchase a house in Europe unless I'm actually spending a lot of my time in Europe, because me being a citizen of the United States, there are no benefits. So then you have to start knowing which areas and countries that you can purchase in that won't charge you taxes. And then, okay, now you're there. Now you're spending time there. You're getting familiar with the lay of the land and the people. You have to build relationships.
Build relationship. That's the most important thing.
And those are typically the barriers, because now everything is on the phone. I'm going to shoot you a text message as opposed to calling you or coming down there and trust that you do what you say you're going to do. No.
Because there are some countries you can't even own properties. Like, I had actually held a broker's license in Dubai for like 3 years. And you can't, like, Americans, they had certain sections that you could do like a 99-year lease, but then you could go into the free zone and you could actually purchase. But the free zone, you wouldn't want to purchase, because what you want to do is get property where people Airbnb them. And people didn't know that, It was, with 99-year lease, who's living 100 years? But you could sell it and do anything you wanted, but you would never own it. You couldn't pass it to your kids.
And that's the part of real estate that nobody talks about. You got to pay all this money for this house and all this. Okay, but what about your children?
Yeah.
If something happens to you, where are they going to go? The family members and relatives that could take them and take care of them in the way that you would probably don't have a place to stay. They should be able to stay here in this house and maintain this house for your children. But I think it's the barrier is lack of knowledge and not building relationships and not having a team.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's true. Building relationship, having a team. So you said building relationship and having a team. That made me think of that you had a course on like real estate and some other things like credit and everything. So I think that's where make you a powerhouse too, because you are an educator as well as do a lot. And we just talked about real estate. You do a lot of other investing in other things. You know, we ain't putting everybody in your business like that. But so what was the course, and like, do you have some other courses lined up? Because I'm like, I look at the Facebook and be like, okay, so and so credit raised up 40 points and this, that, and the other. So tell us like what you have going on with the courses and for education in that regards.
Okay. So again, I started into this realm of investing because one, I want to say that they are not building any more land. There is no more land.
Right.
So because we are so late to the game, you know what I mean? I teach people, for one of the main barriers to home ownership is credit. You know, but you know, and then of course you're listening to people who, you know, if you're listening to your parents, the credit realm was way different during their time. It's different than it is for now. You know, it's to rent a house you need, or to rent a place you need a 620 to 700 credit score, but to buy a house you only need a 580 credit score. Oh, they ain't doing this and they're doing that. So I teach people. I teach a class on how to build business credit because one of the things is our credit. Once we raise our credit, then we don't want to use it. We don't want to do anything with it. And that's not the point of building and raising your credit score. The point to me at this point for me is to build and raise your credit to leverage it. Get you things in your business name. I have 4 cars. None of them are in my name. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I get tickets on one of my cars I ran out. I get tickets in the mail for my company. You know, and so I have classes teaching people how to build business credit. I don't have a class teaching people how to raise their personal credit just because the market is oversaturated. However, you can hire me to help you to fix your credit for you. And you know, I'll tell them, you know, I have where they can pay me to pay, you know, do it each month, or I can just tell them what to do for one flat fee, and then they go ahead and do it. I also teach. At this point, I'm getting ready to do an event. It's not a class, so to speak, but it's a seminar. It's a partly home buyer seminar, why, you know, how to get into a house, what things to do. But in addition to that, I'm giving creative methods to obtaining homes and home ownership. Like, sure, especially if you're coming from a place of scarcity, you have to package it, because talking to a consumer is not the same way you would talk to an investor, right? And so it's, for me, I'm offering coursework to convert a consumer to an investor mindset. And that one hasn't even been made public yet, but it's embedded in my seminars. If you come to my seminar, you'll learn, okay, this is how you can buy a house. You got to have these things, you got to da-da-da-da. But if you don't have all the money, or you do have the money, or you have another property and you want to get a different property, these are some ways that you can do that. So I'm just putting together a lot of different ways to teach people how to get to the money.
Yeah, get to the bag, baby. Get to the bag.
Get to the
And
bag.
you know, it is so funny because like when I started in real estate when I was like, how was I when I first about 20 years old? Didn't know a thing. And I was like, man, if we had this information, but like I said, this is what finances wasn't even talking about. That was it.
And that's what's wrong. I think that's, you know, our parents just didn't, for whatever reasons, didn't have those type of conversations. Probably figured we wouldn't understand. And me being an educator, and even in my 20 years, I've probably seen the last 5 to 7 years, my mindset has changed on a child's ability to learn. And because of that, like, you know, you have these programs where they're teaching these infants and the 8-9-month-old babies words and sight words and stuff like that. And then by the time they get to kindergarten and first grade, they're fully reading.
And you know what? It's so funny because I used to do that. I used to have like on the door, I would have the word door. And now both of my children are elevated readers, but
they give an advantage. An advantage that no amount of intervention in the school could give. You know what I mean? And
yeah, people used to come in the house, they're like, what is that? Why you got all these? You know,
that's how they taught old girl to read on Color Purple. They had jar.
Yep, jar. J-A-R.
Jar. J-A-R. You know.
Yeah, and so, you know, it's the same premise with me in real estate and talking to people. It's disheartening the amount of people that just don't or won't because they're afraid. I got a couple of clients that are renters right now. And one of my clients has a credit score over 800. I'm like, why are we looking for rentals? And she says, I'm just not ready to buy a house. Why the hell not? You like moving every couple of years? I don't like moving. So if you like moving every couple of years, fine, that's fine, okay. But do you know that you can be pulling money out every time you move as opposed to trying to figure out how you're going to get the money for a truck and then the security deposit and all of these things? Like what are we doing? You know, so yeah.
I used to like moving like that when I was a little bit young, you know, like I'm moving and shaking. But the thing is though, if I had just kept that house, rented it out, do it or whatever, or you know, just whatever. At this point, I probably have about 10, 20 houses.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. And so that's why I'm talking to those young people who have access to these things and nobody's telling them or teaching them what to do. I'm not charging, I don't charge an exorbitant amount of money. If you catch me on the right day, I'm just gonna tell you. You know? So it's just working that out.
Yeah. Yeah. They didn't have Airbnbs back then, but that's a big business now, and people are actually teaching.
But just think if you had it back then, and we wouldn't have called it that, but had we had a inkling of the knowledge, we would have been the creators of such. That would have started just having properties on those sites.
Exactly, but that's what I talk about in the morning time. We got to shift the mindset of just surviving into thriving. That's the first step. Is okay? This is how we always been doing. Is there another way? I mean, that's what what is his name to do all of the Amazon and all that kind of stuff. That's what he do. Like, okay, how do I fix issues? How do I make something better? That's So anyway, we have a couple. Oh, it's already 7:00. But in conclusion, as we wrap it up, you have any other questions? If anybody has questions in the chat for Jeanette about her being, we didn't get into her poetry, like she's a award-winning poet.
Can't you spit us something real quick?
Ooh. Is this not a family show?
Huh?
Is this not a family show? This is a family.
I think it's adults in here right now.
We don't know who's gonna be watching it later, but just hey, we might blurp it out or something.
I can, I'll give you a little something that's not. It's okay. It's just a little. It's a snippet. It's not the full poem, but I call it "I Don't Fit In," and it's a celebration of being the awkward Black girl, because we're not allowed to be anything but what they tell us to be. So, I don't fit in, especially with those that have melanin in their skin. I mean, I'm cute for a darkie, but not light enough to be heard. Too bougie for a field Negro, but strong enough to swallow home for words. I don't fit in. I'm too ghetto to be amongst the elite, too stuck up to be from the street. I have a silver spoon in my mouth, but cheap shoes on my feet. My hair is too nappy to be good and too fine to be bad. I'm too thick to be fat and too fat to be skinny. I eat like a bird, 2 servings of anything is too many. I don't fit in.
Look at me, I'm like, okay, keep going.
I know, right? I want to read it. But let me say, she does have a website.
I have
and
several.
you can get the book, and she has another book of poetry as well. What's the name of it?
What you not gonna do?
What you not gonna do? Yeah, that's what you not gonna do. I don't have that. I got it. I didn't even know because I was researching. I said, let me, because I wanted to put all your links in there. But I did drop the link to your Facebook. You have are y'all still doing the like a podcast?
I'm a part of a poetry collective, Southern Comfort. And no, we are not doing that podcast because COVID happened, and then I got heavily involved in real estate, and I just didn't have the time to go back to it. But I am planning a new podcast coming up. I'm working on my partnership for that particular podcast, but there is one coming. But I did have one, Southern Comfort, and that one is on YouTube. If you search, I believe it's SoCo or maybe So Comfort podcast, some variation of that. I did have, yeah.
Okay, but on the website you can actually get the book, or you can get it from Amazon as well. Reclaiming My Time, and Tasha wants to give a book away. So if anybody is interested in the book and getting this book, we will send it to you. The first person to say, hey, I want a book, just put it in the chat. We will send this book to you. Just, I need your address. Just say, hey, I want it. The first person we see, we will.
But I want.
I want it.
Reclaiming my country, so I don't. Country people are lazy. When we speak, we're lazy. We don't finish everything out, and we expect people to know what we're talking about. You know, so I sometimes have to.
I want
it. Okay. This is going to Bobby Jean. Bobby Jean, just hit me on whatever you got, email with Instagram, whatever, with your address, and we'll get this. I'll send it through. Or I could just send you. Do you have one? Because I was like, oh, a signed copy would be nice. I send you the money so you can do it and send it to her. How about that? Okay, cool. Bobby Jean is an amazing creator. She be having me laughing. She does mukbangs, but she also does like skits and everything. And her and her friends, she got a whole network. It's like it's amazing. It's the whole
nice.
Yeah. So any final words? I'll put you full screen so you can talk about. This is like gotta be just the first time we have you on, because there's so much more to talk about, and I love like you empower. Like I remember seeing little pictures that your students wrote, or you would be before school or after school. There's always somebody in there with you, little kids in there with you, and you do all that you do and inspired things. I mean, it's the whole vibe, and I really appreciate having you in my life. And
I appreciate you too.
Okay, otherwise we probably wouldn't even do that.
Because we still be calling you.
Look, back in coupon.
Okay, let's put you full screen and let you have the final word.
Okay. Hi, I'm so glad that you all tuned in tonight. I hope that I have said something that moves you in some way. I think what I want to leave you guys with is it's simple. You don't need permission. You don't need permission to make yourself happy. You don't need permission to do things that feel good. I am an avid believer in if it is not serving or benefiting you, then what is it doing? You can either help the group or hurt the group. And may you continue or begin to elect things that help you as opposed to harm you and what it is that you are wanting to do. Enjoy this week. It is yours. You don't need permission to grab it by the horns and make it yours. And yeah, that's all I gotta say. Do good. Make good decisions.
Yes.
When do you think you can finish that poem?
She gonna be calling me on FaceTime.
I'm like,
I need the rest of
can you
that.
give me the rest of it?
No, you
I'll
gotta
see
do
you
the
the
daily
rest of it. I'll see
part.
you just for you.
Can you do the dangling participle one?
I cannot do that one.
She can't do it on here. But she can do it for her. I'm telling you, you're gonna be sitting there with your mouth open. Okay, do you have
I have to
upcoming
do that.
dates for
I'll do
poetry?
that one at our cook-off in May.
We having a cook-off in May, y'all.
Oh, but let me. Okay, since we real quick, Maggie, I'm telling you now, your girl been over here. I've been in that kitchen doing some things. Been doing it. Hey, we done had ribs every Sunday since Christmas.
Hey, but do them bees hit though?
Hey, I put it like this. I ain't worried about it. You're gonna be writing a poem on how you got beat out. That's what you're gonna be writing a poem on how my beans was better than yours.
All right. If they are, you got it.
All right. Now I gotta definitely make.
And I'm gonna have to perform it publicly, and you can record it.
There you go. And then I do a poem if yours beat mine.
Bet.
You'll help me do my poem.
Oh no, I ain't helping with that. No, complete sentence. No, okay. And okay. I was just thinking of something. Oh my, never mind. I forgot. It went that fast. I started doing something else. I looked. Okay, well, we appreciate everyone being here. Thank you so much for engaging in the chat. If you haven't already, please hit the thumbs up button. If you're watching this on the replay, thank you. Shout out to those live and full effect in the chat, in the bushes, and on the replay. We appreciate you. And we will see you all in the next one. Peace.